Alright guys, welcome to the Octagon Oracle Fight Night Xiong versus Figueiredo full card breakdown. How you guys doing? We had the off week, and yes, I will go over the previous card, but I'll probably do it at the end instead of the beginning since it wasn't a pay-per-view or anything. We'll start with this card's breakdown. I'll get to it in a few minutes. A few disclaimers for this card. The UFC website has not adjusted to the proper fights yet, and I generate my graphics based off of the UFC website. So there's a lot of incorrect fights represented here. I will obviously say whenever there is one like that. Also, my voice is a little bit fried. I am sick again, unfortunately, but that is what it is. Apparently, his Aguilar has been removed from the roster. Thoughts? I thought he was a good addition to the roster. I don't know if something happened behind the scenes. Like, I don't know what he pulled out of the fight for and such. I don't think he was a bad fighter to have around, but I don't know if he was declining fights or something weird happened. Like there's a lot of possibilities. All right. Yeah, we'll get to the Rico stuff. We'll get to the MVP card and whatever, all that stuff. We'll get to everything non-MMA at the end. How are you feeling? I'm alive. Not the most pleasant at the moment, but it's all good. Alright, we're going to start off quickly, and then I will talk at the end about all the stuff that has happened with and adjacent to the MMA space and all of that. So, starting with Loma Lookboonmee versus Jaqueline Amorim. So, Amorim is basically a pure grappler. On the feet, she throws out a few jabs and calf kicks and then circles on the outside. When she shoots on a takedown, it's typically a double leg. She'll continue to chain until she gets the takedown, though, so sometimes she'll end it with a throw or something along those lines. On the ground, she's pretty aggressive with attempting to pass and then find submissions there. She generally goes to submission as her first priority, but if she is getting to good positions but just can't find the sub, she'll just switch to ground and pound and try to get the finish like that. The biggest problem with her is she definitely gasses out if she faces pretty much any adversity whatsoever. Loma is basically a pure Muay Thai striker. She throws a lot of round kicks on the outside, she'll kick with both legs to change things up. She tends to punch only with proactive blitzing type of combinations basically. She will also go for a variety of takedowns from throws to double legs, but she's had mixed success with them recently, so it's a questionable idea whether she should be doing it, to say the least. She does have solid takedown defense, but if you get her down, she just seemingly has no idea what to do off of her back and is pretty much stuck there. She also can be a little bit low volume at times and make fights closer than they really should be because she usually does have the skill advantage, it just isn't really that clearly displayed. I mean, obviously, this fight goes one of two ways, right? Either Amorim gets the takedowns and she mauls her, or Loma can defend the takedowns and just win on the feet. I have to lean towards Amorim's going to get the fight to the ground at some point, because Loma has super low fight IQ moments where she will shoot on the wrestler, or decide that she's going to try to counter grapple after she just got to her feet. Weird stuff like that. And if she gets taken down by Amorim especially, she's not going to get up for the rest of the rounds in all likelihood. Mizuki was able to scramble constantly, which is why she was able to survive and gas Amorim faster. Loma doesn't have that scrambling ability. So even if Loma is surviving the round, she's not going to win the round, and that will probably happen at least 2 out of 3 rounds. I still think Amorim will eventually find the finish, so I'm going to take Amorim by sub. Alright. This is not Hamon Tavares, as we were talking about. This is Zhu versus Vera. So, starting with Zhu. Zhu is a low-volume power puncher. He really likes to lunge in with the straight right. He has decent movement on the outside, but not the best setups. He has pretty good instincts with defending takedowns and getting back to his feet with overhooks and underhooks and such. He has been taken down a lot in his last 2 fights, but they were very credentialed Eastern wrestlers. So I don't think that necessarily means that his takedown defense is garbage. It's just he's adjusting to that level of wrestling. I will say, however, though, he is definitely very untested. Like, we don't know how he's going to do against a decent opponent. Vera is a very heavy pressure fighter. He's usually looking to get to the takedown, and he'll mainly shoot on double legs. On the ground, he has some ground and pounds, but mainly he's just going to control. On the feet, he will throw some kicks on the outside, but it is mainly moving forwards with like hooks and stuff instead. He has a similar style to like Andreas Gustafsson, where he's just basically going to overwhelm you doing stuff and moving forwards constantly. Similar to Gustafsson, he isn't necessarily the best at dealing with opponents circling. If they just keep moving properly, he will end up like chasing instead of cutting them off, and then he'll run into stuff. It's always tough to predict a fight with a style like the Andreas Gustafsson style, because like if you find out the opponent just can't stay disciplined with circling, they're going to get mauled. And if they can, they're probably just going to either knock you out or just keep piecing you up the entire fight. I'm going to very mildly lean Zhu by decision. I think that he's going to hurt Vera enough in rounds 1 and 2 to just barely take the rounds. And while I probably am leaning Vera takes round 3, I don't think he's going to be able to finish Zhu in round 3. So yeah, what we're going to say close decision goes to Zhu here. All right, moving on to Angela Hill versus Jingnan Zhang. Sorry. So Hill is a volume-based fighter. She pumps a jab constantly and basically just tries to overwhelm you doing stuff. She's not the cleanest striker, honestly, and doesn't really sit down on anything, but if you get tired, you're definitely in trouble against her because she will constantly keep pace. She has started to mix in takedowns, which is good given her pace-oriented style, but she is vulnerable in the pocket because she relies on like the sloppy volume. So if you're just stronger than her or more powerful, you can usually stun her or take her down and so on. Zhang is a power puncher. She fights actually somewhat similar to Jessica Andrade, but she does have better timing in my opinion. She tends to wait for opportunities and explode in with hooks and such. She will mix up whether she's going to the body or head, and she has gotten like stoppages with body strikes before. For her weight class, she has some pretty ridiculous power. Like, I think she actually does have more power than Jessica Andrade. And she does fade a little bit in high-paced fights, but she has displayed that she could go 5 rounds in the past. So in a 3-round fight, I don't think that's going to be as relevant. Now, the odds actually really shocked me when I was seeing it. I thought that Zhang was going to be like minus 500, minus 600 type of range. Then I realized that the reason why it's a little closer here is that in 1FC, Zhang was the flyweight champion. Now, she has fought at strawweight before, but not much. Now, granted, flyweight at 1FC and UFC is not the same weight class, but 1FC has the hydration testing. So it's kind of a question of like, okay, is strawweight the correct weight class for Zhang? Is she going to be overly depleted there and so on? That being said, I am still going to pick Zhang here. I mean, Hill is going to have to fight 2 perfect rounds, because if she gets clipped once, she probably loses the round in all reality. And Hill is not the fighter you want to rely on fighting perfectly. She's gotten dropped by much worse fighters on the feet. So Zhang is old, and of course the weight cut is a question, but I am actually going to mildly lean here to win by TKO, because the people that Hill is fighting typically are just headhunting. Like, even with Fatima Klein, she was really just trying to get like the flatline knockout to the head. Whereas with Zhang, she's going to go to the body a lot more, and Hill does not defend that at all. So I could really see this going like the Angela Lee fight for Zhang, where she hurts her within like the first 30 seconds or so with body strikes. But I don't think that Angela Hill has the same survivability as Angela Lee, because Angela Lee can just dive at your legs and try to transition to the grappling, where Hill is not that competent of a grappler by any means. So yeah, I'm going to say Zhang wins by TKO here, even at her older age, but not as confident because of the weight class for sure. All right, moving on to race Tsuruya versus Luis Gurul. Of course, Aguilar is out. It is no longer him. Actually, I'll put up a poll for this one. For the ones that people know and aren't the road to the UFC guys, I'll put up some polls. Um, all right, poll should be live. Pretty much everyone on Ray so far. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they like the value on Hill, and while I kind of understand, like Zhang is a champion level fighter, and will she be champion in the UFC? Probably not, but like she is that level of fighter. Hill is not. So unless Zhang is very compromised from the weight class, I actually don't think it's very for Hill. Leading Ray, but not by a landslide. Yeah, I get what you mean. All right, we're at like 90% for Ray right now. I'll leave it open for a few more seconds. Then Gruel fight less. Just fight. No, I assume you're saying last week. Yeah, he did, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. All right, I will end the poll here. 91% for Ray. So, starting with Ray. Ray is basically just a pure wrestler and somewhat of a grappler. On the feet, he does technically move and strike like a karate stylist, but he doesn't really throw many strikes. He'll throw like a few left straights, a few like tapping kicks, and that's basically it. He does like to shoot on the double leg, but he will take whatever he can get, and then from there, he will just continue chaining until he's able to get to the takedown. His highest ROI finish is actually throws, which is very uncommon, but he likes to confuse people by constantly shooting on the legs and then switch to the throw and finish it there. On the ground, he will continue flowing constantly and look for subs or dominant position, but because he has that flowing style, he doesn't necessarily do a great job of establishing control before he starts to like transition and stuff. He does also definitely fade in higher paced fights. We have seen him lose round threes and stuff like that before. Gurley is a volume striker. He doesn't really push a crazy pace, but he will constantly put stuff out there. He will throw a fair number of teeps on the outside and then move forward with combinations. He will take a takedown if it is there, but he's not really great at getting them unless his opponent like really overextends. He has I've said this many times now, he's a very pretty style, but it's not like crazy effective. It's similar to Grum in that regard. He is definitely open in the pocket for explosive movements, which is why he's gotten rocked there many times. And he's not very explosive himself. He is just that pace and volume type of guy. I'm going to pick Ray by decision here. And I'm not confident on the method. And I'm not even crazy confident in Ray, in all honesty. He should win this. It's just Ray has been off for 2 years now or something like that. And while in theory, because he's so young, he should have gotten significantly better. So he should maul Gurley, but you never know with guys who have layoffs like that and like what happened in terms of their, like, I don't know what his injury was, but sometimes like if it's something with the knee, did the knee actually recover properly? Because for a good percentage of guys, unfortunately, it never does. Now there's a lot of questions that Ray does have to answer, but he should take this on. All right, moving on to Aoriqileng versus Cody Yadong. Actually, I'll put a poll for this one also. Here we go. Poll is live. If Ray loses to short notice Gurley, I might give up Japanese MMA. I mean, there are other Japanese fighters that are doing fine, but I get what you mean. You don't think Gurley is going to be too physical? I mean, I wouldn't say Gurley is a very physical guy. All right, we have 82% for Yadong, which is pretty much in line with the odds right now. So I'll probably end this in a few seconds. All right, ending the poll at 85% for Yadong. Alright, so starting with Aoriqileng. Aoriqileng is a counter striker who has pretty heavy hands. He generally does want you to engage first, and then he'll sit down on like hard hooks. He tends to be pretty static. He'll just stand in front of you or move forwards a little bit. If he engages, it tends to be with lead hook into his cross. He does tend to fall behind a bit on volume. He really wants to hurt you. He's not just looking to like get points. He doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, but he does a pretty good job at staying safe on the ground and scrambling to safety. Yadong is a high-volume boxer. Often he'll walk forwards and then just start out his combinations with jab overhand. Once he gets into the pocket, he'll be more focused on timing hooks, and he'll go to the body a lot more as well. He does always keep up pressure and pace, and mainly he will try to use that to like break opponents rather than just find one big shot. He does have grappling, but it is mainly just to mix things up. It is not his specialty by any means. He also does not slow down at all in very high volume fights, which definitely could be a good tool for him in the future. My biggest gripe with Yadong, let's say, is that after watching his tape, he's a lot more hittable than I realized. He's very predictable when he goes with the jab overhands, and like even in the pocket, he gets hit. It's just the opponents he's been fighting so far aren't people who could really punish it that terribly. That being said, I'm still going to take Yadong by decision. I think he is the more nuanced striker, and I think that he is going to always be up on volume here. So unless Aoriqileng can like hurt him badly, he's going to fall behind. But I'm not as confident in Yadong as a lot of other people are, I will say. All right. Moving on to Dingming versus Jose Enrique. So starting with Enrique is a very long fighter who loves to not use his length whatsoever. He'll start off pretty slow. He'll throw the occasional kick on the outside. He's generally okay with just countering, but unlike what he should do with his length and just time straights, he will typically be content to counter with hooks and uppercuts for some reason and take away all of his advantages. If you push him back, he will tend to just move back. His cross definitely is dangerous when he's in the mood to actually use it, which is a uncommon occurrence apparently. He's definitely an athlete. He's not a fighter in any regards. Ding is, I don't even know what he does in all honesty. Like, he spends most of his time shadow boxing with jabs that are about 3 feet out of range. He explodes into the pocket with a cross that somehow is like always wildly off target, even if his opponent is standing still. He will then throw hooks in the pocket that also somehow miss most of the time. Occasionally he throws calf kicks on the outside. He can do damage with those at least. He does apply a lot of forward pressure, and he does seem to like fighting, unlike Enrique. I said this before in the Discord. The only way the fans win this fight is if someone has an aneurysm in the back and they pull a random fan to fight whoever is remaining. And I would honestly be willing to bet on the fan to win that fight. Like, this is the lowest level of MMA I've seen in the UFC in a minute. And we had like Nurgaje versus Tobias. So I don't even know what to say about this fight. Like, this is just genuinely disturbing that we have to witness this. Since I have to pick, I'm gonna pick Enrique by TKO. He's a little more accurate, I guess. I don't know what to say about this fight though. It's like, it's one of the worst fights that's been made in UFC history. It's just because they're small names, no one has even realized that yet. Like, watch it be a crazy war at this point, but it's a terrible fight. All right, moving on to Isaac Lee versus Luis Felipe Diaz. So Lee is a well-rounded fighter, but he definitely does favor the grappling. On the feet, he is mainly going to work with crosses and counters. He has gotten better at timing his opponents coming in with a rear hook. He throws some calf kicks, but there's no real crazy nuance on the feet. He likes to get his takedowns with throws, generally speaking. He's pretty aggressive on the ground. He will go for ground and pound into submissions if his opponent gives it up. His cardio is a little bit questionable. He's definitely had to take rounds off and stuff like that before. Diaz is a talented fighter, but he doesn't always really seem to know like how to impose his game plan. Generally speaking, he wants to work towards taking the back, whether it's standing or on the ground. But a lot of the time, he's just waiting for opportunities. Like, he will literally just stand there, like, wait to counter. And then if his opponent overextends, he'll grab the body lock, turn the corner to the back, and go from there. He does have strong body kicks, but he doesn't really use them consistently. He will also give up takedowns, just doing weird stuff. Like, he'll throw a flying knee out of nowhere that's like 2 feet out of range and just give up the takedown for no reason. He also has very questionable cardio. He slows down a lot. There's another fight where it's like, I don't really know who to take because neither are particularly good. I'm going to lean Lee to win by TKO. I think that Diaz is going to gas harder, honestly. And I think that Diaz is also going to give up the minutes and probably just start taking damage. And then later in the fight, he's just going to have nothing left. But it's another tough one to call, to say absolutely. All right, so promo time. If you guys are crazy enough to be betting on a card like this, you probably do want to consider joining the betting service. Between the algorithms, and the newest algorithm is like doing ridiculously well right now. It has like a 50% ROI, and all the other tools. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to bet if you are a fighter who actually bets it in an educated manner. And if you're watching the stream, you are probably one of those. Only $25 a month, unlike a lot of other handicappers and services, to say the least. And community has been amazing. So link is in the description here if you're interested in that. And always feel free to DM me with questions. All right. Moving on to Alex Perez versus Sumudaerji. Finally, an actually like high skill fight. I'll put up a poll for this. Can we expect a lot of finishes? Honestly, with low-level fights, you never know, because both fighters could death gas within 2 minutes, and then we end up with like a sloppy decision that no one wanted to watch, or everything could just be a 2-minute finish. Like, it is very tough to say. All right, starting out with 70% for Perez. All right, most of you are actually pretty confident in Perez, interestingly. Oh, it's going down a little bit, down to 64% for Perez. I'll close the poll in a few more seconds. More pathetic fight, Ding versus Henrique or Rahiki versus Schmidt from a few weeks ago. So with Rahiki versus Schmidt, I think it was more disturbing because that fight should have never been sanctioned. But like, Rahiki is an okay fighter, so that's fine. Like, Ding versus Henrique is like one of the lowest level fights UFC has ever witnessed. I'm going to end the poll here at 62% for Perez. All right. So starting out with Perez. Perez is overall very well-rounded. He could fight in pretty much any domain of combat sports itself. He does throw a lot of calf kicks on the outside. He'll enter with extended combinations of hooks. He has extremely good takedown defense and ability to get back up, but he can definitely be submission prone, especially against higher level fighters. He has a fast double leg and good control on the ground, but doesn't shoot as often as he should in all honesty, so sometimes fights are a little weirdly close because he just doesn't use his wrestling. Despite his losses, he actually doesn't really ever get outstruck. It's usually just like, oh, he's ahead, and then he made a weird mistake. Or like, he just didn't throw enough volume against Makayev, even though he really could have won that fight if he threw like 2 more strikes. Perez has had a very weird trajectory, to say the least. Moving on to Sumudaerji. Sumudaerji is a long, rangy striker who's just mainly going to point fight. He is going to throw out a lot of jabs and round kicks at range while moving around on the outside. He'll throw lone crosses early, but once he gets his timing, he'll start throwing the 1-2 a little bit more comfortably. His defense is mainly range and movement oriented. If you could get into the pocket, then he is definitely more hittable there. He also has been submission prone in the past, but it does seem like his grappling is improving. This is a tough fight to call. I've been high on both of these guys, honestly. I think that Perez just has a few more ways to win here, because Sumudaerji basically needs a somewhat perfect 10 minutes, because in all likelihood, Sumudaerji is not going to be putting away Perez. I don't expect him to knock out Perez, and he doesn't really have the submission ability to do anything there. But if Perez lands like one good strike per round, he could get a knockdown or rock Sumudaerji and probably win the round off that. If Perez gets one takedown, I don't think Sumudaerji is going to get up for the rest of the round, in all honesty. So I have to lean towards the fighter who just has more paths to victory here. And I think that Perez, I'm going to pick Perez to win by submission. I know he hasn't gotten a submission in a while, but I think that Sumudaerji is the type of fighter who will try to get up. And because he's trying to get up, but he's at such a massive skill disadvantage on the ground, I think he's going to give up something. And I think he might get caught with either the arm triangle or the anaconda again. We'll see which it ends up being if I'm at all correct here. So Perez by submission is my official pick here. All right, so Muslim Salikov is, of course, out. Is now Jake Matthews versus, what's his name? Harris, Carlston Harris. So starting with Matthews. Matthews is a very well-rounded fighter. When he boxes, he likes to set up with his jab and then throw in combinations after that. He doesn't have the most power, but he is defensively responsible and does counter pretty well. He doesn't always use his wrestling, but when he does, he has a good variety of takedowns. On the ground, he hunts for submissions. He has pretty good BJJ, but as we saw last fight, sometimes he does gas out if he goes for too many submissions, and then weird stuff happens. Sometimes he just honestly doesn't have the attributes to win fights. Like, he's not immensely talented in any specific part of the sport. He's just pretty good everywhere. Harris is an aggressive finisher from all positions. He's one of those longer fighters who just like sling strikes. He throws a jab on the outside and then he'll wing the overhand or hooks and such. On the ground, he's really just going to go for submissions from anywhere. He isn't very defensively responsible. He kind of just tries to make up for it by being dangerous. I think that Matthews is just going to be more technical, and I think that Harris at his older age is not taking damage as well anymore. He's gotten flatlined, he's gotten standing TKO'd recently as well, and I think that even though Matthews doesn't hit that hard, just by having the better boxing, he is going to piece up Harris until he eventually finds like an accumulation finish. So I'm going to say Matthews wins by TKO here. All right, moving on to Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. I'll start that. 100% for Asakura so far. Oh, we got one person picking Smotherman. Salikov is out. The graphic is still showing Salikov because that's what's on UFC website still for some reason, but it's Harris. All right, I'm going to end the poll here at 88% for Asakura. So, Asakura is a pretty aggressive striker. He's generally focused mainly on landing the right straight and the left hook. He'll often pair them together and throw it in combination. He can be prone to overswinging and definitely getting into brawls, but he has seemed to be slowly dialing that in through the course of his career. If you keep dipping, he'll try to time knees, and he has ended fights even with flying knees to the body, interestingly. On the ground, he's definitely shown to not be great, to say the least. When he first entered the UFC, I actually thought that his striking would be more the issue than his grappling. Because while he has looked better, especially against Tim Elliott, before he got taken down, that is. When he overswings, he tends to get countered pretty badly, and his chin is not amazing. His recovery is pretty good. So even if he gets dropped, he will get up very quickly and be fine. But if he gets touched by something when he overswings, he usually does go down. Moving on to Smotherman. Smotherman is a pressure boxer. He moves forwards a lot and he'll pump out the jab before committing to larger combinations. Because he stands in like the pure boxing stance, he's definitely very open to calf kicks, and he does not react well to takedowns. He has also been low urgency in fights where he needed to do just a little bit more, and he has a very questionable chin. He's been chinned by pretty much nothing in the past. He is very technical though, and interestingly in this matchup, I would actually argue he is the more technical striker. This is a weirder fight than people are giving it credit for, because there's a reality that Smotherman has actually never been outstruck in the UFC. The fights he's lost has been because of wrestling. And yes, pre-UFC, even on his Contender Series fight, before he eventually got the UFC short notice call, he has been knocked out. And there's a real chance that happens again, and I am picking Asakura by TKO. But Smotherman is the cleaner striker. So if this fight starts going longer than expected, or like Asakura just can't find the shot, Smotherman could definitely piece him up to a dominant decision. But I am going to pick Asakura by TKO in here, and we'll see what happens. All right, moving on to Sergei Pavlovich versus Tallison Teixeira. So starting with Pavlovich. Pavlovich is a heavy-handed pocket boxer. He will wait a little bit to get his timing, but then he wants to enter and just keep throwing until his opponent goes down, basically. At distance, he mainly just throws jabs and waits. If he's countering, he will try to time the overhand usually. He is pretty vulnerable to straight crosses, but he has such a long reach that he's able to negate the issue a lot of the time. He does have wrestling with double legs, but of course uses it in very rare fights. He does have questionable cardio though. Even though he has been able to go 3 rounds okay, if he has to like do a lot of wrestling or he's in a higher paced fight, he does seem to slow down. Tallison is a technically well-rounded fighter with like, he has the attributes to be very successful, but he has some pretty garbage defense to say the least. He starts off using his range to blast jabs and kicks. When he gets his timing, he'll throw the 1-2 down the center. He's actually pretty good in the clinch as well. He will blast knees and elbows and such there. In the pocket, he just has no clue what he's doing. He is extremely vulnerable there. He does have wrestling, but it's mainly just the single legs that we saw last time out that aren't very well set up. It's just that Tuivasa could not stuff a takedown from a toddler. So I am a little bit surprised that Sergei is this big a favorite. I mean, to be clear, yes, I'm going to pick Sergei by TKO. However, Sergei is like deceptively garbage. He has really bad defense. Like he gets hit, like whenever someone throws a cross at him, he gets hit. He has better defense against overhands, but he got rocked by blades off of a cross. He, of course, got knocked out by Aspinall off of a cross. And it's just like when his opponents have similar attributes to himself, he does seem to struggle more. So this could be like the parlay buster of the card, and it could just be a very like simple fight where like Teixeira literally just throws a 1-2 down the center and flatlines him. But I'm going to pick Sergei by TKO because again, Teixeira is so bad in the pocket, and Pavlovich should be able to just enter the pocket and knock him out realistically. All right, moving on to Zhang Mingyang versus Alonzo Menifield. All right, starting with Zhang. Zhang is a first-round finisher. Literally, all of his wins have been in the first round. He starts off with a lot of calf kicks and side kicks, which is interesting. You don't see side kicks at heavier weight classes much. He tries to time the lead hook or just open up with the right straight. He will blast elbows as his opponent tries to enter or if they back up to the fence. He does have crazy power and pretty good anti-grappling. However, we saw last fight, of course, he cannot defend a calf kick for his life. He also has never won a fight that has went past the first round. Now, granted, it isn't a massive sample size, but it is still true, so that is definitely a little bit concerning. Moving on to Menifield. Menifield definitely feels washed. He just doesn't do as well as he used to. He basically only has an overhand and a left hook. Sometimes he throws them in sequence, which can catch people unaware a few times, like it did Jacoby, which is how he got dropped. He will throw out a few jabs at range, but he's typically losing the minutes of the fight and has to make like comebacks with big moments. He's not technical at all, and I think the reason why he feels so washed is because he was always so attribute focused that as those attributes fade as he ages, it just feels like there's nothing left. So I'm going to pick Zhang by TKO, and I think he gets it done in round 1 like he did every other time, realistically. All right, moving on to the main event, and then I will get to questions after. Song Yadong versus Deiveson Figueirdo. So Song is a bit of a static boxer, but he'll mix in other tools as well. He hits extremely hard. Everyone who he fights comments about how hard he hits. So even though he hasn't been getting knockouts at the top level, there definitely has to be something there. He varies whether he throws single or in combinations, and he does this a lot more than other fighters do, so he is less predictable with what he's going to do with his boxing. Because of how stationary he is, though, you can pick at him and move around a little bit. His wrestling is also mainly double legs. He has very good takedown defense, although it's likely not too relevant in this matchup, but we'll see. So Figgy was at one point like a devastating finisher, of course, but he's definitely decayed into a points fighter. A few years ago, the analysis would definitely be very different here, but now his main focus seems to be get to a double leg takedown, which is not going to work against Song, realistically speaking. On the ground, he does have solid control. He used to jump for subs and transition a lot. Now he kind of just focuses on the control more. His explosiveness going definitely took away most of his potential. On the feet, his biggest strength is his straight cross, but he hasn't really been throwing it recently, and I don't know why. He just seems really tentative to open up on the feet, even though he still definitely has power, even if it is going. I mean, the reality is like there's no real analysis here. Figgy's just way too old for a fight like this. I'm gonna pick Song by TKO. Figgy's pretty durable. Maybe he survives to a decision, but Song should honestly pick him apart and finish him pretty easily. So I'm gonna pick Song by TKO here, and I do kind of hope that Figgy either takes like an easy fight after this if he really wants to retire on a win, or just retires after this one. Could be a retirement fight, I don't know. But a lot of fighters like to retire on a win, and I get it. Give him like I don't know, what's a good fight? If Smotherman loses, give him like Smotherman or something, I don't know. Vicky versus Barcelos? Yeah, maybe that. Alright, one more time. If you guys are betting this week, even though it is at an obscene time in the morning for most of the world, you guys probably want to be... how was I even going to phrase that? If you guys are watching the video right now and you're betting on something that's probably going to be at like 4 in the morning, you're probably more of an educated bettor. I'm way too tired to do the full pitch. If you want the algorithms, sign up in the link below. You guys know the pitch by now. I've said it more than enough times. New algorithms doing really well. Always hope to see you guys there, and always feel free to DM me with questions if you have on it. All right. Now I can get to the questions about the events. What do you guys want me to start with? There was a lot of stuff. Rico? You want to start with Rico? Okay. There's a few things at play here. First of all, yes, the fact that Rico could get a single round off of Usyk is an absolute disgrace for boxing. Like, I have for a while thought that boxers are overrated, especially after the Francis stuff, and like, McGregor did way better against Mayweather than anyone seems to want to admit. But either way, right? I did have Usyk slightly ahead in scorecards. It was very close. I think a lot of people are scoring it through MMA lens, but if you're going off like actual boxing scoring, Usyk, like, it was either tied or Usyk would be slightly up or something along those lines, because like Rico did a lot of work in the clinch and stuff like that, and that doesn't really score by boxing criteria, unfortunately. So while I feel like Rico is winning in terms of a fight, I don't think it was like as quote unquote rigged as people were saying in terms of the scoring. However, how is boxing scoring different? It's very different. Like I suggest you read through the rules if you don't know it. It's really stupid. Like we think MMA scoring is stupid, and it is. Boxing scoring is really stupid, but it's scored completely differently. Whatever the case. However, yeah, the stoppage was atrocious, and that part looks rigged. It definitely seemed to be like, okay, yeah, if he gets hurt at all and it's a close fight, let's just call it. I do think that even if they didn't call it, I think Usyk probably would have knocked him out in the 12th, in all honesty. And even if he survived to a decision, Usyk would have taken the decision. But it's just like, yeah, like we're saying Rico wouldn't land a single punch. Like, yeah, Rico should not have been able to land a single punch. Like, if there is actually a difference in the sport's ability. Rico's not even an amazing boxer. Like, in all honesty, if you guys have watched Rico tape, he does most of his work with chaining his kicks and his hands well. He's not just someone who's like, oh, purely knocking people out with his hands or anything like that. He'll throw 3 punches and then sneak in a head kick, and that's how he gets his knockdown. Or throw 3 punches and then blast a low kick and hurt someone with that. He's not someone who's just hurting people with his hands. Like, the fact that Usyk had such a hard time with him is genuinely embarrassing. Exactly, I've been watching Rico since he became champ the first time, never been known for his incredible boxing. Yeah, exactly. It's, I don't know. Rico's mostly a kicker, he doesn't have big knockout power, it's insane what happened. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, like, even, again, people will say, like, Usyk didn't take it seriously and all of that. It's like, even if he didn't, he should have knocked out Rico in round 1. Like, that's just the reality of it. Like, after seeing that, how would, like, I've been thinking Topuria would do a little bit better in boxing than people were saying. But after seeing this, I'm like, yeah, no, Topuria would knock out Ryan Garcia. Because if we're just looking at them skill for skill, Topuria is better, even just on pure boxing. Like, if Topuria does everything he wants to do in MMA and leaves, I think he could be a champion in boxing as well. And yeah, I think Pereira versus Usyk would be an interesting fight. I would probably pick Usyk. I don't think Pereira's pure boxing would be enough there, especially because he doesn't really quite have like the head movement and such. But it's possible. I mean, he does have more power in his hands than Rico. I will say that. So yeah, I don't know. It's such a mess. Like, boxing is such a garbage sport. Like, they skill for skill are worse than pretty much any other combat sport. I think the only equivalent is like pure BJJ, because there's just no money in the sport and it's just not developed yet. But yeah, any like Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA, they're all such higher skill level. Ryan's too fast for Ilya. It doesn't matter if you're fast though, because the problem is Ryan is so predictable. He's just trying to spam the lead hook over and over. And Topuria can game plan around that, even if Ryan has the speed advantage. Did you watch Aiden Ross boxing MMA clown show at the Apex? I did not. John Silva in boxing, yeah, that he would do well as also. Exactly, look at what Tank did to him. Yeah. What about Ilya versus Haney? Yeah, I think Ilya would knock out Haney. I mean, Haney would be even easier, because Haney has pillow hands. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. Ilya versus Tank. I mean, I think that Tank is a harder fight than Garcia, honestly. But, I mean, I can't say Ilya wouldn't have a chance. Imagine if you give Rico 1 leg kick per round. Yeah, exactly. It's like, or pretty much anything, like in terms of kickboxing rules. Someone was asking for a recap of the previous card, so let me do that. I think I have it here. All right. I'm going to go quickly. All right. Shauna Bannon versus Nicole Cagliari. Even though I picked Bannon, I'm kind of glad Cagliari got the win because Bannon won round 2 off of a foul. I'm forgetting exactly what she did, if it was like an up kick or whatever, or something weird like that. But she fouled to get up in round 2, and then she won the round off of that. So it's for the best that she did not win the fight, because then she would have literally won off a foul, which would have been really annoying, not gonna lie. So Cagliari sucks, first of all. Cut them both, who cares? But like, it's good Cagliari got the win. Perez versus Gurul. Perez looked his age here. He looked just not durable at all. He just didn't have the same reflexes he used to. I think he got cut by the UFC, and unfortunately, it's probably the right move. He does need to retire here, in all honesty. Gurul, I mean, I guess he looked fine, but he's still, like, he didn't show anything that impressed me. I mean, I guess we'll see this week if there's any actual step up in his game, or if Perez was just at the end of his career. Ardelian versus Viana was an interesting fight. Ardelian got robbed of a round 1 finish, I believe. I'm forgetting exactly what happened. Does anyone remember? Because I'm just blanking now, but I know that she got robbed of a round 1 finish. Whatever the case. So, Ardelian should have gotten the round 1 TKO. Then in round 2, she starts wrestling, which I didn't expect. And then the whole, I'm blanking on the sub name. I've seen it before, but it's so uncommon that it was just hysterical. But yeah, don't take a body lock off of your back, because that sub does work if someone knows how to use it. Capsule lock, yeah. It was funny to see someone actually use that in like a UFC fight. But fair play to Ardelian for like always doing her homework, because that was not something I was expecting to see. Ardelian's actually pretty good. I mean, like, she doesn't have the craziest punching power, so even when she is very dominant, she ends up going to decision a lot of the time. But like, skill for skill, her boxing is pretty nice. So I do want to see her get a bit of a step up after that. It's kind of shocking she lost to Shauna Bannon, because she's looked much better than Shauna Bannon since. All right, Cody Brundage versus Andre Petrosky. This was one of the picks last week that the algorithm loved. It loved Cody Brundage here at dog odds, which was a little scary, but he made it work. So fair play. Brundage knocks out Petrosky in round 2. Brundage is weirdly good. He just doesn't use it a lot of the time. He's such a weird fighter. I mean, Brundage like has all the skills to, I'm not going to say be ranked, I wouldn't say go that far, but like be like a really good gatekeeper to the top 15. And it's just sometimes he doesn't show up at all. And then sometimes he just decides to flatline someone who's supposed to beat him. It's a very weird dynamic. But like, Brundage lives again. He has plot armor. He will never get cut from the UFC. Jaqueline Vieira versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Okay, this is a weird fight. I really thought Cavalcanti was going to win this, because she's just a better striker, in my opinion. I didn't expect her to just stare at Jaqueline Vieira all of round 1 and like play into her game, because the low volume game is Jaqueline Vieira's game. Fair play to Jaqueline for getting the takedown in round 2. I didn't really expect that, given that Cavalcanti has very high takedown defense percentage. But she got the takedown, she barely edged out round 1. Cavalcanti dominated round 3, but didn't do enough for a 10-8, obviously, and didn't push for the finish. I don't know why her corner told her, don't like go crazy. Because, I mean, you lost round 1 and round 2. Like saying, oh, you're probably down 2 rounds, but don't go crazy is a weird statement. It's like, no, try to knock her out, because that's what you need. Whatever. It was a really boring fight, but is what it is. I mean, Vieira got cut. Cavalcanti's still in the UFC. Cavalcanti has potential, don't get me wrong. She's still youngish for the division, but it was not a good fight. This was another fight where the odds confused me, and I was right. Minev is just not a good fighter. I mean, like, could he get better in the future? Maybe. It's just, even his striking, which is his quote-unquote strong suit, he just wings wild overhands and hooks. It's really unimpressive. Whatever the case, Gantiz is relentless, but he has no idea how to even throw a hook in on the ground, so his BJJ was very unimpressive, to say the absolute least. But he has very good cardio. He kept pushing the pace. Eventually, he just broke Minev and got the finish. I think Minev, I don't think they're going to cut him, but like I think he's going to get one more fight. He's going to get finished again, and then he's going to get cut because he's terrible. He just has nothing in his skill set that's useful. Gantz will lose as soon as he gets to someone who like actually knows jiu-jitsu, but he will be a hard fight for quite a few people before that. All right. Tukos versus Urslan was a strange fight to say the least. Obviously, I think we all thought this was going to be Tukos' wrestling versus Urslan striking, and then it turned into it's Tukos' striking versus Urslan's wrestling, which is it is what it is. I mean, round one was very entertaining because Tukos almost got knocked out, and then for some reason just decided he's a striker and almost knocked out Urslan. Then Tukos could have won because his corner told him, "Stop wrestling. You're doing well on the feet. Just keep going on the feet." And Tukos decided with his very intelligence, experience, whatever you want to call it, fight IQ, that he was just going to shoot on repeat and then sink to his back and spend the rest of the round there for rounds 2 and 3, of course. So, it was a performance. We'll just say that. Nikolai Varetnikov versus Chaos Williams. This was a fight I think like a weird hype got into people about Varetnikov. He's not a good fighter. We saw that. Granted, I kind of get it. Neither is Chaos Williams. Like he's not the most technical, but like Varetnikov is really bad. So this fight went exactly as it should. Chaos Williams found the counter, put him out. Pretty simple. I mean, Chaos Williams is always going to be dangerous. He just needs to get more nuanced in his game. Varetnikov is done. He's not like UFC level by any means. Kwamba versus Sopai. Okay, so this was an interesting fight because Sopai really impressed me here. I picked him. I thought he would win by decision, and I thought it might be close. He did not let it be close. I mean, he just destroyed Kwamba at pretty much every aspect of the game. So, yeah, I mean, Sopai definitely showed that having the short notice fight in his debut against Oliveira was not a good representation. And then even in his second fight against, what's his name? Ricky Tercios. I think that like crazy pace style gets to Sopai and it throws him off a bit. But if you're not doing that to him and he's allowed to be technical, he's very dangerous. So fair play to him. He exceeded my expectations and I am looking forward to what he does in the future. Modestas versus Christian Edwards. I don't know what the judges were looking at here. You could give round 3 to Edwards. I will say that. Round 3 was close. Rounds 1 and 2, you like are very, very obvious. So I don't know what the split decision BS was here. And I think like one judge only scored it for Modestas because he gave Modestas round 3, but not round 1, which is wild. So I don't even know what to say about that, but it was a very unimpressive fight for Modestas. Edwards is not a good fighter, in all honesty, and Modestas looked very mid against him. He just had no urgency to cause damage. He was clashing into the clinch where he was having problems. It was not a good watch. Modestas needs to fight down because, yeah, he's not good. Wellmaker versus Juan Diaz. So, Wellmaker somehow got worse, which was impressive because he just didn't throw anything. I don't even know what to think about that because Juan Diaz could be good. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not going to say that he sucks and like Wellmaker is just like that much worse. Juan Diaz could be good. We've had 2 impressive performances from him so far. But that being said, it is definitely easy to look good against someone who's not throwing anything. I think Wellmaker threw a few kicks, feinted a few lead hooks, and that was absolutely it. So, I don't know what he's doing. I can't even give a breakdown. Good performance from Juan Diaz. He did what he needed to do. But, like, what? This was just so weird. Anyways. Moving on. Doo Ho Choi versus Daniel Santos. Now, this was a very fun fight. Because it looked in round 1 like Daniel Santos was going to get a finish at any moment. He was definitely piecing up Doo Ho Choi early and was just throwing the more nuanced combinations. Round 2, Choi woke up, realized he didn't have to brawl, and that he could be a little bit more technical, started using his jab more effectively, and so on. And Santos was gassed from going for the finish in round 1. Choi just stayed technical, went to the body more, eventually found the finish himself. Impressed me. I was surprised. I did not expect Choi to win that. Fair play to him. He's looked better and better despite age-wise being like closer to the end of his career. So I still think Santos is good. I think he still has a future. But Choi looked quite good, especially in round 2. I wish he fought like he did in round 2 earlier in the fight. Because he would take a lot less damage if he fought more technical all the time. All right, Arnold Allen versus Moki Costa. Now, I do have a habit with, what would it be called? Fouls. If there are fouls in a fight, I tend to hyperfixate on that. I think you guys know, based off of my issues with previous fights, to say the absolute least. Allen had a lot of fouls in this fight. From the eye poke to the fence grabs, like there was like 8 to 10-ish fence grabs in this fight. Do I still think he probably wins without it? Yes. I don't think it swayed the fight. Still annoyed me. Other than the fouls, very good performance from Allen. He's definitely turning into more of the pocket boxer like style, and he definitely sits down in his left hand a lot more now. The style that he's developed could definitely do a lot better in this division than the old style he had, lunging in constantly. So, good, what would be the word? Improvements from Allen. I think Costa is still solid. I think he still has a future. He's not too old yet, but he definitely has some work to do to like deal with constant pressure and stuff like that and get a more nuanced boxing game, while Allen is definitely at the point where it's like, yeah, you're not champion level, but you're probably top 3-ish, like constantly here. And I think he would probably beat Evloev in a rematch. Allen should have finished. Yeah, I do feel like he should have been able to, but that is what it is. Allen beats anyone in the division, not named Silva or Volk, and the Volk fight would be very close. Honestly, he might beat Volk right now. Allen versus Steve Garcia. I think Allen would probably finish Steve Garcia. How does Doo Ho Choi's future look like? The biggest problem for Doo Ho Choi is his age. So I don't think he's going to be like that high ranked in all honesty, just because of that. But he has probably a good 3 to 5 more fights in him before like the age starts catching up. Allen versus Lopez. It'd probably be an Allen decision. Costa has heart. Yeah, that's for sure. Diego versus Steve Garcia. Who you got? I'm leaning Garcia, but I'm not confident. We get White House early predictions. Offhand, I'm forgetting. Let me look at that card again. Where are we? There we go. Okay. So Garcia versus Lopez. I am leaning Garcia. Obviously, note this is all pre-tape, but I mean, these aren't going to be controversial picks for the most part. I think Garcia is my most controversial pick. Leaning Bo Nickel, although Dawkins is good, right? He could pull it off, but I have to lean Bo Nickel. Rufy should win, Pocket should win, O'Malley should win, Pereira should win, and Taporia should win. So nothing groundbreaking there, really. Contrary to what Melky's corner said, I thought he should have thrown more spinning kicks to the body. Also thought he was allowing himself to get backed up too much. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate the spinning kicks to the body. I think the problem is they knew Allen was looking for the takedown, so it does open it up a little bit more. Who's fighting Volk, do you know? I mean, the rumor is of Evloev, but I have no like information on that. Thoughts on Paradise, if that's how you say the name. I mean, he's good, but like I don't know how good. It's the problem is his level of competition has never been high. Safest pick on White House card, probably O'Malley realistically. Oh well, okay, no, Taporia, never mind. Definitely Taporia. you be attending Freedom 250? I will not. Thoughts on Jason Jackson? He's another one of those fighters that's weird because he's good, but I don't know how good. Because he's lost to people that he shouldn't have lost to, and he's beaten people that he shouldn't have beaten. So he's a very, like, I don't want to say coin flippy fighter, but he's very strange. Oracle gonna wake up in a cold sweat thinking about Ding versus Enrique. I help you. Valid. Fluke or P fluked. Yeah, it almost feels like in a weird way. John probably gonna fight Aljo and Mobzar versus Volk. It's seeming kind of like that. What do you think are Perez's chances of winning against Gon in terms of percentage? Probably like 80% or so. Thoughts on Protos saying he KOs Ilya? I mean, Ilya would knock him out. How does Vallejos fare against Zalal, Garcia, Aljo, and Mobzar? He'd beat Zalal, he'd beat Garcia. Aljo and Mobzar are tougher. It's harder to say there. I'd have to look at tape. How well do you think Rico would do in MMA? Honestly, I mean, okay, heavyweight sucks, which is why he might do fine. But he would be very takedown prone. Like, if he's not fighting a Blades, a Hockett, or like something along those lines, he'll be okay. Or an Aspinall, of course. But if he is, he's screwed. Do you think Justin has a chance to beat Saporian? If so, what is the path to victory? No, I don't. Rico probably top 5 skill-wise. Yeah, I would say so. Rico's footwork is what it is. I was shocked he didn't get caught in a bad step by Usyk when moving laterally. Yeah, I don't know what Usyk was doing, but I mean, I guess, I don't know. Boxing just sucks. And Justin's only chance is to make it dirty in the clinch. Justin's only chance is to bring a gun into the cage. I just realized I missed the entire prediction. Can I get a recap? Yeah, let me check. Ooh. Alright, so I picked Kanji Zhu against Rodrigo Vera. I picked Jose Henrique against Ming Ding. I picked Jake Matthews against, what's his name? Where is this? Alright, let me just start from the beginning. I picked Amorim by sub, Zhu by decision, Zhang by TKO, Ray by decision, Hadon by decision, Henrique by TKO, Lee by TKO, Perez by submission, Matthews to beat Harris by TKO, Asakura by TKO, Pavlovich by TKO, Zhang by TKO, and Song by TKO, I think. If I said it all correctly. Ilya versus Crawford and Canelo. I mean, in boxing, I definitely have to favor Crawford. I do think Canelo's a little overrated, but he'd still probably win. Thoughts on Alex's fatigued head movements as he puts on more weight? I don't think it's going to matter, honestly. How do you measure or know if a fighter actually has raw power? I mean, it's tough. You kind of don't. Because the reality is that you can hit a bag very hard and not have the same impact on a human, and vice versa. So you kind of just have to observe and see what happens. Alex need to pressure to land the kill shot on Gon. Also, do you think Gon is going to be southpaw because of the low kicks? I think Gon is going to be southpaw, yes. And I do think Alex needs to pressure, yes. Ilya might just punch Gaethje into being smart, valid. Ilya's toughest fight out lightweight right now. I mean, he beats everyone, but his toughest is probably like maybe Xiong. What did you think of the MVP card? It was, I mean, not great. BSD Patty prediction? BSD, I think we'll TKO him. Thoughts on Jacoby Smith versus Kevin Holland? Jacoby Smith should destroy him realistically. I think Alex should use the super heavy pressure style that he used against Ankalaev or be more safe. I think he should just use the heavy pressure style, yeah, because God has no punching power. There's nothing to be afraid of. Xiong, what does he do that causes trouble failure? He's just very technical. He's like very technically sound. Ngannou would definitely knock out Despain very badly. Thoughts on Vedikov giving Gon a 70% chance of salty? Yeah, I think he's just salty. What do you think about my Violence King Torres facing Fiziev? Torres should knock out Fiziev, I think. Ankalaev versus round 2 predictions. It's probably like a round 4, round 5 knockout for Ankalaev. Ilya versus Alex on middleweight predictions. I mean, I'd have to remember how Alex looked at middleweight, honestly, but I'd probably lean Alex, but like, if he was very slow at middleweight, which is possible, then I don't know. Do you put much stock into the sparring footage of Alex seemingly getting pieced up against Tallison Teixeira? I mean, sparring footage is always overblown. Ngannou versus Rico in MMA. Ngannou would just shoot a takedown. Ankalaev versus Yuri. I'd probably lean Yuri, but it's hard to say. Emanol versus Emanol Rodriguez predictions. I mean, Emanol opened up at like minus 1400 for a reason. Granted, I think those odds are a little insane, but he definitely should win. Go nickel ceiling. I think he could be like top 7, top 5-ish. Alright, my voice is definitely fried. I'm probably going to wrap things up here, though. Thank you guys for coming. If you guys are betting, do consider checking out the betting service. Link is in the description here. Hope you guys have a good night. If you guys are watching the event, I mean, at a crazy time for a lot of the world, but have a good time then as well. So, thank you all for coming again. I'll see you guys next time.